Okay. So this is what, you know what, everyone, let's do a voiceover. Who's here? Just the board members.
Hi, everybody.
Steve. Hi, Anthony. Okay, so we're going to do a roll call, Anthony. I'm going to have everyone say their name, so because we're being recorded now, just so we can show that we have a quorum. Steve Raffaello, Chair.
Carol DeSanto, Vice Chair.
Eliezer Rodriguez.
Anthony Jericho.
Lillian Levy. Sorry, Anthony. Lillian Levy.
Sorry.
Okay, so everyone is here other than James Legret, correct?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, Steve. James Legret via cell phone.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so we have a quorum. Now, if we can go through and we'll start with staff from DOS. If you can indicate who's here, please.
Amy Pensbean's here.
Denise Tidings is here.
Allison Lacey is here.
Karen Zay is here.
Emily Loopy is here.
Dave Mossberg is here.
Marcella Rose is here. Whitney Clark.
Michael Shannon is here.
Okay, that's okay. And then those are all, pardon me, those are all the DOS staff that is here, and board members. Anyone on the public forum that's here, can you please indicate that you are here by saying your name?
Rebecca Jones.
Thank you, Rebecca Jones. Okay. All right. So now that we have the roll called, we'll move forward with the agenda.
Steve, real quick. Steve, I know you can't see. We do have another public member here, Karen. I'm not sure if you heard her.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I did not hear her.
I misspoke. I spoke early. Karen Zay.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Welcome to the meeting. Okay,
Thanks.
So everyone should have received a current February 25, 2021 New York State Board of Real Estate Appraisal agenda. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the December 3rd, 2020 meeting summaries that everyone received from Denise prior to the meeting. Are there any questions on the meeting summaries from December 3rd, 2020?
I move to approve.
If there are no
I'll second.
Okay, first Carol, second Anthony. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, so moved. We approved the meeting summary from December 3rd, 2020. Moving on in the agenda, under department reports, enforcement and continuing education audits, Ernest Delaney. No Ernest. Is there anybody from DOS that is filling in for Ernest? Okay, that being said, I'll move on in the agenda. I'll come back to that point.
Thank you.
Item B under department reports, processing report from Emily Lupia. Emily, did you report at this time, please?
Yes, good afternoon. Included in the materials you were provided, you will find licensing statistics for January of 2020 and January of 2021. The report shows the number of real estate appraisers broken down by county and class code or license type. The 2021 numbers include only licensees and do not include those licensees whose licenses may have expired and are covered by Executive Order 202.11, which allows individuals licensed by the Department of State to extend the expiration of their license during the state of emergency. And that concludes the processing report.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. Is anybody from any board members have questions for Emily?
I have a question. It looks like this doesn't look like the same report that we usually get. We usually get like a total, like this looks like this looks like how many were issued and renewed, but we don't, like, we usually get a total of how many appraisers there were and the change. Am I just missing it?
Denise?
I don't see that there either. It looks like it might just be the county one, the monthly. We can get you another copy of the correct report.
Okay.
It's interesting to see. I always like to see how many appraisers we lost. Usually is the deal. And I don't know. I just like seeing it. I mean, this is good too, but it's not the same format we've had before.
I agree with that, Anthony. And I think it's important that we know where we are in total numbers and year to year, especially with the issues of changes in qualification courses. And it's really important that we're on top of this.
So Denise, is that something that we can furnish to the board members at a later date within the next, say, sometime during the week of the following calendar week?
I can probably get that to you right after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony, for that
You're
clarification.
And we'll place the documents.
Are there any other questions of Emily about the processing report? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the report?
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
I'm ready with the enforcement report if you would like.
Okay. Hello, Ernest. How are you today?
Oh, I'm okay.
That's good. Okay, so moving back to under agenda item 2A, Ernest Delaney will now give the enforcement and continuing education audits. Ernest?
Yes. This enforcement report will cover appraiser complaint investigated from October 2020 to the present. Over that time period, we have opened a total of 20 new appraiser complaints investigations. Over that same time period, we have completed a total of 8 complaint investigations. Of the disposition of the completed investigations include 5 which were closed due to no violation, 1 which was closed due to withdrawn, the complainant deciding to withdraw their complaint, 1 closed due to abandon, and 1 closed with a warning. Our current appraiser complaint caseload is 47 cases. And I would mention that as I look at the new cases coming in, we are getting an increased number of complaints referred to us from Fannie Mae. That's my enforcement report. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have one question, Ernest. It's Jim Legrette. With regards to the Fannie Mae complaints, is there anything in particular that they're identifying?
It tends to be issues over value and methodology. They are referring it seems, based on the Dodd-Frank requirement that they report potential violations to the state agencies. But yes, they all tend to be that the Fannie Mae has found issues with the methodology. They found that comps, there were improper comps selected and adjusted, and they tend to disagree with the final value.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions of Ernest in the enforcement? The enforcement education audit? Okay, if there are no further questions, can I have a motion to accept the report?
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All, okay, so carried. Okay, moving back down to, agenda item 2C, qualifying education update. Marcella Rose.
Good afternoon. The Appraisal Standards Board announced that the current edition of the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, USPAP, will be extended by 1 year. The 2020-2021 USPAP will now be effective until December 31st, 2022. This extension does not impact the continuing education requirement. The 7-hour continuing education course still needs to be taken once every 2 years as a way to offer appraisers a refresher on important cornerstones of the profession and offer practical applications for the appraisal practice. We will be getting this information posted on our website. Most course providers have renewed their courses for 2021 in accordance with the AQB ASC guidelines as they pertain to live distance education. This has allowed individuals to locate courses and have more options to meet the education requirements. This concludes my report. Are there any questions?
I have a general kind of question. Is there any way to track the people that have taken courses, online or, virtually as opposed to in class? There's probably no way to track that, right? Like,
not,
or like, and compare that to like violations or something.
I don't think
There
we have the
is-
mechanism to track that.
yeah. Due to system limitations,
Okay.
I'm not aware of any way that would be able to be tracked.
I wonder if the foundation does anything like that. I'd be curious if how they fare after they take these virtual classes.
To my knowledge, there's no tracking from the foundation level or from either.
Okay.
Steve,
Thank you.
Steve, I have my hand raised. It's Becky.
Okay, go ahead, Becky.
So with the Appraisal Foundation being a USPAP instructor, we're required as an instructor to send in all the names to the foundation. They only do it for the purpose, whether it's a online, live distance, whatever it is, that's more or less for them to keep track of the instructors. They don't keep any attendance at the foundation for who's taking it, just to keep on top of the instructors. So I hope that helps, Anthony.
Okay.
I also want to thank Marcella for such a thorough report regarding this change in the USPAP. I don't know about other members of the board, but I've already been receiving phone calls regarding the continuing education system. So I appreciate that you're going to be putting it up on the website. I keep getting the question, well, why do we have to take it if it's not updated? So, and I explained that it's in statute of law that it has to be done every 2 years. But so I totally appreciate the thoughtfulness and thoroughness that went into Marcella's report.
Okay,
You're welcome.
very good. Are there any other questions of Marcella on the qualifying education update? If there are none, can I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to item agenda 2D, Fair Housing and Fair Lending CE Rule. David Mossberg. Dave, you still out there? I know we started.
Hello?
Dave?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yep, yes, we can hear you.
Hi. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, going to give an update on the proposed regulations that the board voted on at our last meeting to require continuing education courses devoted on the topic of fair housing. As the board may recall, at our last meeting, the board voted to authorize the department, I believe, to take all appropriate measures to propose and adopt the rule, provided that there were no substantive changes. The public comment period following that rule has expired. It expired actually this week, and we did not receive any public comments with respect to the rulemaking. The department had planned on filing the paperwork to adopt the rule as per the board's last vote. However, in preparing the materials, we observed a slight typo in the rulemaking, and considering the board was meeting this week, we thought it was best just to explain to the board what we discovered and have hopefully the board vote to approve the very non-substantive change to the rule text so that we can go ahead and file the paperwork. So the specific issue that we discovered was that in section 1107.34, paragraph A3 and paragraph B3, USPAP was misspelled accidentally. The original proposed regulation had USAP instead of USPAP. So it's a very non-substantive minor change. In all other respects, the original text as proposed by the board at our last meeting will remain. So we just wanted to present that to the board just for consideration. Another thing which came up with respect to this particular rule was trying to determine whether or not additional changes were made for the inclusion of implicit bias, as that term isn't actually in the rule text. However, when we looked at what is required, the current rule covers conscious and unconscious biases, which is already covered. It's sort of one and the same. The research that we found, there is authority to suggest implicit bias is also called the same thing as the unconscious bias, so it's covered. So to alleviate any concerns with the rulemaking, we just wanted to make that clear to the board in terms that will be covered. So I'm not sure if any of the board members have any questions or concerns, or if they understood the non-substantive change that I just described. So I'm happy to hear any questions or concerns that the board may have.
David, I think I just want to pipe in because I'm the one that started the email, and I wanted to make sure that we were on the right track with the implicit bias being included. But I really appreciate the research and the definitions that you sent me this morning, and I am fine with knowing that it will be included in the proposal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Does any other of the board members have any questions or comments with respect to the rulemaking? If there isn't, perhaps a board member could make a vote to go ahead and file the notice of adoption paperwork. If the paperwork is filed, we anticipate that the rulemaking would go into effect on March 17th. So I'm just letting the board know that.
I'll make a motion.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry. I missed the last meeting, and I don't mean to bore you all with, because you attended, but the where does this rule where did this rule originate from? From the foundation or and is this a class? Is this an additional class, or it's a class that we have to take as part of our regular CE requirements? I'm sorry to rehash this.
It was originally proposed, I believe, from a subcommittee of this board, and it doesn't include or require any new additional hours of education. It's within the current mandatory 28 hours of education. It basically removes some of the elective hours that licensed or certified appraisers can take, and it requires, depending on what courses they've already taken, either a 7-hour or a 4-hour update on fair housing and fair lending. So there's no new hours offered.
Can I add to that, please? So this, the task force that looked into this, there is an increase in the qualifying courses for certified residential to take a class. It is currently required in the certified general courses for licensing. So it will be a pre-licensing. That will be an additional requirement for pre-licensing moving forward. But the continuing education requirement, just as David said, is included in the 28 hours of required. It'd be like having a core requirement, like you said. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Okay. All right. Are there any further questions of David? I'll make a motion to accept the amended document. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So David, the amended documentation has now been passed.
And thank you very much. We'll go ahead and file the paperwork.
And thank you, Carol, for the clarification. Moving on to agenda item 3, action items. The practical application of real estate appraising, or PAREA, committee report virtual experience. Carol and Becky, whoever would like to go first, or together, however you want to tackle it.
This is another task group that we have been meeting on outside, and it was an introduction to the concept to approve the practical applications for real estate appraisers, which would be virtually being able to get the experience credits. The Appraisal Foundation has approved this as a pathway to licensing in place of or as a choice of the traditional supervisory trainee pathway. It appears that it has been very difficult for people that have completed the coursework to find supervisory appraisers willing to take on that role for a 2-year period. And we totally understand the workload that is required of supervisory appraisers for taking that trainings, and thank all the ones that have done this for numerous years. It doesn't reduce the availability for the traditional pathway, but this would be an additional pathway to be able to first take all of the pre-qualifying education courses, but choose which way they want to move forward, either with a supervisory appraiser or to do virtual training with a mentor that checks their work. One of the questions that has come up is, will they be required? Because currently our application, you have to have an experienced lawyer, and it has to be signed off by the supervisory appraiser. This pathway requires a minimum of 3 appraisals that have been vetted by the mentor. We have looked into what we can do. You know, the task force in general believes that this is a credible new pathway. However, we want to look into, you know, the tiers of, you know, the tiers of who is a real estate instructor, who is a real estate supervisor, and also the mentors. The definition of a mentor is very close to the definition of a supervisory appraiser, which is in statute right now. So, and we're continuing to look at the licensing law and see if any changes need to be made in that licensing law if we move forward with this pathway. We are looking for input from the public, from appraisers, and comments so that we can make a good decision on this moving forward. Becky? Well,
All right, thanks, Carol. And I posted in the chat also the link from the Appraisal Foundation to the PIREA page. Just to piggyback off of Carol's good job of summarizing everything. We met yesterday as a task group, and I walked away from that group going, oh Lord, do I want to take another big project on? Where our last big project was the AMC bill that took us 6 years on that one. So I did post, and we did get some public people attending here, and I'd love for the board to hear the public's response of this, because if it's a need for New York State, then at least we can start taking a look at the project. With that, my second point is, and I think Carol did mention it, this virtual reality product has to be created in the private sector. The Appraisal Foundation is not doing it. We are very concerned to see what the product is going to be before we do a blanket approval or ask for a blanket approval on it. So we at least thought maybe we could start, just like Carol said, let's start looking at what we have for a supervisory. Let's talk about what the mentoring position would be. And then we also brought up the fact of being a qualified educator in New York State for appraiser qualifying courses, because even though this is an experience project, it's still a class, right? It's still a virtual reality class. So I'm actually saying to the board, I really think we ought to look at what it takes to become an instructor in New York State for appraiser courses, because really it's an application that follows suit with a supervisory application, and it's being a license. Actually, my husband, who's not an appraiser, he used to be, back in the day, if you passed the qualifying course back in the day, before it's a national exam, you are approved as a qualified appraiser instructor. And so, and maybe Marcy needs to correct me on all of this. I'm assuming he's still authorized to teach those courses. I would not let him teach an appraisal course, not that I'm in charge, but that's my concern, right? Is we have educators out there that maybe aren't qualified, and they could be part of this mentoring process.
Becky, are there other individuals in the public forum that would like to comment on this topic? Is there anybody in the public forum that would like to comment on this practice appraisal of real estate appraisals?
I have a comment.
Please.
Needed? I think something like this is needed, because just because you have a live person that even takes you on does not mean they're going to train you efficiently. I got my license before I learned how to appraise. But then again, what you're saying, Becky and Carol, it's a massive undertaking, and you want to be careful that it's produced and implemented by qualified individuals.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Karen, for your concerns and your comments. They're all input is helpful. So with that being said, I have a little
Hold on, Steve. I got to interrupt you, Steve. You know, I'm the one that's used to interrupting you, but we also have Linda from the public. I know you can't see everybody, so I know Linda from the public had a comment, and she's an assistant. Go ahead, Linda.
Oh, thank you, Becky. So, hi, I'm in upstate here in the Monroe County area, and have got my in-class instruction in Buffalo in May of 2019. I look like I'm coaching 2 years later and still have not found anybody to supervise me. I'm I back a state agent for 8 years, and I feel like it's a dead end unless you have a family member or somebody that wants to supervise you. Is that
okay? Thank you, Linda, for your outlook on the topic. Is there anybody else in the public sector who would like to comment on this item? Okay. So that being said, let me
I guess I'm sorry to interrupt you. It seems that are kind of the same thing. Like you could have a mentor physically that might have it virtually that doesn't have as good a credentials. Is that correct? Like you could get it for free.
Linda, am I the only person that's getting a breakup from what you're saying?
No, I can't. It's all broken up. I can't really understand what she's saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow, but whatever you're utilizing, you're breaking up on it.
Can I interject here? I think, and I couldn't hear you, Linda, because it's going in and out. But are you asking if you could do both pathways? Can you indicate? Can you shake your head, yes or no? When the Appraisal Foundation has said, when they added this possible pathway, that it has to be one or the other to follow you to licensing. So you choose either the pathway with the PREA or the traditional supervisory training pathway. And I don't know if that answered your question or not, but you can't go back and forth. So that's one of the reasons why I think we need to do a little bit more homework. And I really appreciate you speaking out about the difficulty in finding a supervisory appraiser, because that is what this issue is all about. It really is. That's why the Appraisal Foundation has worked on trying to find another pathway. As Becky had said, until the courses are created, it's difficult for us to say, does New York State want to agree to this or not agree to this? We totally understand the whys, but we need to know more about the hows.
Okay. All right. So if we've had discussion, I guess to not necessarily conclude this, but to kind of draw it all in. I took part in the meeting yesterday, and I had digested things that Carol and Becky. I have to thank you both for supplying the bulk of the information about this. This is the topic with a lot of moving parts. And the good point that Becky brings up is we need to regulate who's teaching this, who's reviewing this, who's mentoring this. We also have to understand that these experience credits have to come to the Department of State. So somehow, and there is a need for this, as Linda was just commenting on that. And we see that there's a need for this. We've been talking about this for a little while. This is not the first time this topic has been brought up. Carol has spoken before that in 17 and in 19 this was brought up. But there are a lot of moving parts to it. We're trying to figure out under the advising of David or the advising of Amy, with the staff from DOS, how this fits into the existing legislation that we have. Because you have to understand, if we introduce something, we might have to reintroduce it on a legislative end instead of a housekeeping bill. So there's some difficulty in the process. And we're reviewing this to see how what we have best fits what we're trying to do. Okay. Now that's the specific topic. I'm going to take it out to a longer view. And Becky spoke to this. In the last 7 or 8 years, between the AMC subcommittee, between the Fair Housing and Fair Lending subcommittee, and now this subcommittee, the bulk of the loads be carried by 3 or 4 people on the board. I really would make a open heart request to have some other people start to get involved in it, because this is the kind of going to be a heavy load to carry. But I think it's, as Linda, and you have people that are actually coming in from the public commenting on the fact that it's difficult to get a supervisor. I would tell you in my own experiences, it's hard for me to take somebody on in my business practice. So I think this is something that's necessary, but it's going to be a heavy load to carry, and I think it's a load that we need to carry. But I'm making a request to some of the other board members that we start to get a little more active and acclimated, to maybe make a subject like this a little easier to carry over the finish line. So, if you want to contact me, or you want to contact DOS, you want to contact Carol, whoever you're more comfortable with contacting, to get you up to speed on where we are and to start taking an active role, I would really appreciate that. Are there any questions or concerns about the end that I'm bringing forward? Okay. If there aren't, I don't think we need a first or a second on an action item. Do we, David?
Hi. No, I don't think so for this. No.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments or concerns on this topic? This is my own perspective. I think this is a good thing. I think the application could have a upward effect. I just want to make sure that we're applying it directly. And I'll say this in an open forum. I haven't said it before. People look at New York State as to what we're doing in the appraisal occupation, because we're making good strides. So I'd like to go about this the same way we've gone about everything else. Okay, with that being said, if there are no further questions.
I just have one more comment, because I really want to hear what the other board members feel about this training. I mean, I know Carol, I know Steve, but what are the other board members feeling on this?
Actually, I that's exactly the comment I wanted to make, Becky. We need to take a poll of the board of what they feel about Korea. I know that we forwarded all the materials to the board members. We need to know how you feel so that we know how to move forward, and hopefully some other board members can help us with this in research and moving.
I would suggest that the video that was forwarded was very informative. And you always want to take the hour just to look at the video. If you had questions or concerns or suggestions, maybe we can put them in writing to Denise, and we can accumulate them and send them back out, and then maybe we can move on. We can move that forward in the next meeting, Carol. Suggestions from anyone?
I would just say that I share the concerns that you've all expressed. It kind of scares me to have somebody that's taken online classes virtually and then taken a mentoring program online and not had any kind of physical training. It does seem a little, it's just so different than how I was taught or how we've all been trained, I think. So it seems I know it's probably needed. I know I get calls all the time. People want me to take them on to train them, but you just can't. And I've trained lots of people, but you can't do it all the time. it's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. So you can't just do it all the time because it's pretty daunting. And so I'm training my daughter right now, and but again, it's my daughter, so it's that's how this business always worked. But a couple appraisers have called me and expressed the same concerns about how they could be, the calls I got were more concerned about people becoming general appraisers without having like physical training with somebody, because I mean, residential is one thing, but general's a whole nother, there's some more complicated properties and issues. And if you've never been out in the field and never accompanied anybody on a physical inspection, and you can get licensed without doing this, it is kind of I wonder if it does provide, if it does accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. And again, the other thing is I'm really curious about how somebody would approach this. A private sector contractor, how they would do it. How do you have like static videos that you watch, or do you do a FaceTime thing, or how do you do it? It's a and how do you do it? How do you handle confidentiality? How do you handle use PAP issues? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know that you might not want out there in the quasi public. So I do have some concerns about it, and but it's all stuff that you've already addressed. So I thank you for that.
Well, let me just answer
wait, hold on a second. Anthony, you're a plethora of commercial information, and really a lot of these topics we haven't covered yet. That's why we're establishing the subcommittee, so we can go and give a full report to the full board. So, I mean, to be honest with you, you being well versed, you would probably be very valuable on the subcommittee. So if you want to, we're going to have some meetings. We can get right into the guts of this stuff.
Okay, I'd be happy to help. Put me on the committee and let me know when the meetings are.
Okay, all right.
So let me just let me answer two of his questions, and thank you for that, Steve. I got what you were doing. Right. So Anthony, just so you know, this PIREA is only for the licensed residential and the residential certified. It does not count for commercial.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's why I'm like, I got to tell him. This will make you feel so much better.
Okay.
So it's actually a virtual reality. So the Appraisal Foundation did do a segment on how to measure a house. So that is one of the recommended ways. So there is a sample where you're putting on the headset. Anthony, you got to go talk to your kids or your grandkids and have them do virtual reality with you, because that's the way it's going to happen.
I am going to be a grandfather in a couple months.
I heard, I know. That's why I put that in there.
But she probably wouldn't be much help, no.
Well, you never know. Okay.
So this is Lillian.
Yeah,
I'm not an appraiser. I'm just going to say, Steve,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not an appraiser, but it seems to me that all over the world we're going to virtual teaching. And not only will this continue because of the pandemic, but it's going to continue forever. It's part of it is people our age having to adjust to a new world as well and find a way to make it appealable to everybody.
That's a good point.
Oh, really, that's exactly. And the thing being is that the world is changing, technology is changing, and we need to address. This is a topic that we need to address. And it is in getting advisement from like yourself or David or anyone. We need to look at the framework that we have and how we can fit it in and best apply it. And Becky's right. It's going to be it's not going to be as heavy as an AMC because there's less individuals weighing in. But it's going to be a very deep topic that I think, as our due diligence as board members, we need. This is why we're here. We need to address things like this, so we're staying on top of it and ahead of things. And we've done that very well over the last 6 or 7 years. Believe me, it's not a reflection of my leadership. It's the people that are around us that have done a yeoman's job with all that.
Steve,
I'm going to move off my.
We were fading there for a minute, but I just want to make a couple more points. I think that we just have more homework to do. We need more input on the subject. I think that the topic is a relevant subject for the times. Some of this is also driven by the modernization of the appraisal process by FHFA. And if you should be following what's going on there in the residential realm and what may be changing or not changing. There's already been numerous changes in the appraisal process in gathering data and inspections. So there's a lot going on. And as Lillian made an excellent point, we need to modernize our process. We need to be more efficient. We should be the experts that are doing the actual valuation, but to be able to free up some time to do it right is what we need to do. I do think we've got work to do ahead on this issue. I guess I was looking, we were looking as the task force for feedback to this topic, so that, knowing if most of the board members and if the public members that are on with us today feel that it is a topic that we should be taking on for potential approval in the state of New York. So, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Sure.
Issue with it being one way or the other. Why can't it be a collaboration, that there's modules? Because if you're like me, I learn best by a plethora of people. Somebody might get one part much more clear than another.
So Karen, it's an excellent question. First of all, I appreciate that. That is what was approved by the Appraisal Foundation, was one or the other. And actually, during their meeting, I brought up that topic. Can't we, in our state, approve of a bifurcated product where we can do some one way or the other? And they said, no, that's not. We wouldn't recommend you adapt something that is like that, because the program is meant to be one or the other. Maybe we need to take that feedback back to the Appraisal Foundation. So, because I hear you, I do hear you. And I actually spoke with them about it, but I did not get the answer I was looking for.
Okay. All right. Well, all very, very good input and very good beginnings to a long conversation. I think at the end, hopefully what we end up producing is helpful to many people. And I think it will be, because with all the in-depth knowledge of the people that are involved, I think we'll produce something that's very helpful. Okay, so if there are no further comments under action item 3, I would like to move on to new business. And at this time, I'd call on David Mosberg again for the executive order update.
Hi, so good afternoon again to everybody. Just have a quick update on 2 executive orders. I had mentioned these previously at earlier board meetings, but there are 2 EOs that are particularly relevant to the Department of State Licensing, as well as this board in particular. So the first one is the executive order relating to the continuation of the change to the open meeting laws, which allows the boards to meet virtually as we're doing today. So that executive order was again extended. It is now valid through at least March 24th. obviously we'll know more as we get closer to that date as to whether or not it's extended again. But that is the current date. The same date is also for the extension of licenses. As I said during one of the earlier meetings, licensees that had an expiration during the period of the state of emergency, in order to ensure that they can take their continuing ed, or if they haven't been able to submit a renewal or have had other issues under the EO, their license was continued. So that is also extended the same date of March 24th. And again, if there are any changes, obviously we'll report that and make that information available.
Okay. Thank you very much, David, for that update. So if there are no other items coming from this board, it's fine, sunny afternoon in Central New York. I don't know where you are, but the sun is coming in through my window. So with that being said, our only agenda item left is Denise has given us a date for the next meeting of May 20th at 1 p.m. I guess, Denise, you would like people to email you to let you know if that date is good or not?
They've already confirmed that that date was good, but if they've had any change, then they should let me know so that we can reschedule. Otherwise,
Oh, go ahead, Denise, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, otherwise, we have tentatively scheduled the Korea WebEx meeting for Tuesday, March 16th at 11 a.m. Anthony's going to be joining us now, so I'm not sure if that date's good for you, Anthony. I can email that out, and we can figure out whether that works for him as well.
What was that date again? I'm sorry.
Tuesday, March 16th at 11 a.m. at WebEx meeting.
Hang on. Sure, that's fine.
Okay, great. Then I'll set that up then and include you in the attendance list.
Okay, great.
The only other item I have is that we normally have a quorum, people attend. We have very good attendance records, but just for in going on further, when Denise sends out the notice with the agenda, if you can just indicate on the Google Calendar, yes, that you're going to make it. This way she has a head count as we get closer to the date of the next meeting of May 20th. I would appreciate that. If there is no other business for this board, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
But Steve, can I just ask a question? I'm so sorry, Steve. I did not do this on purpose.
I'm sorry. The public comment section was back 2 or 3 action items above this. So really, the Robert's rule, I can't really have you speak anymore. Saying that, yes, Becky Jones, the floor acknowledges your ability to now comment.
I just had a question for David, because he talked about that fair housing would be in effect on March 17th. So that's when the courses can be available to the appraisers. So are they is there going to be an effective date for the appraisers to have that fair lending course?
Yes, and apologize for not being clearer earlier on. The way that it works is that by having the rule effective upon publication in the state register, it allows the providers to start offering the courses. It allows any of our licensees or certified appraisers to take the course now if they so choose. I mean, obviously, there'll be some lag between when the providers are actually ready to offer the course, but starting the 17th, they'll be able to submit, the appropriate paperwork to get approval to teach it. But it won't actually be a requirement for any licensed or certified appraiser until January 1 of 2022. So in theory, if an appraiser is, currently scheduled to expire, I'm just going to say June 1st, that individual would be able to submit a renewal of his or her license and certification, June 1st, 2021, and would not be required to take the course because they're renewing before the January 1, 2022 date. However, the following renewal for that individual would then have to take, again, depending on the history of the coursework, either the 7 or the 4-hour course.
David, is it possible to get that timeline, that potential timeline, to the board members?
The potential timeline of what? I'm sorry.
What you just said, the dates.
Oh, sure. I don't think that's a problem. Like I said, the rule itself should be published on March 17th, which is the first available state register. So once it's in the register, I'm sure I could forward it to Denise and we could send it to the board members. The January 1 date, that's actually part of the regulation itself. So, and the rule text is available on our website currently. So if any interested member or person of the public wants to read the text, it's on the DOS website in the Division of Licensing, and it has those time periods as well. But, we will certainly send out the register once it's printed.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that question. And I think what Carol's saying is when the phone calls start coming in, if it's on that website, right, then we can educate the public. So the appraisers are like, oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Steve, that was an important question.
This is Amy. I just wanted to make a quick comment that we'll also be sending it out to the schools, and also putting an FAQ on our website to help appraisers. So that's just part of our normal course of business, but I just wanted to let you know that. Thanks.
Amy.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. All right, good question, Becky. All right, so if there are no further, I'd like to state on my record that I never have a meeting over an hour, even with Becky asking questions. So that being said, Carol made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll second.
Thank you, Anthony. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy schedule to help us move things forward. Anthony, thank you for volunteering for the committee. And anybody else that's interested, please let us know. The more eyes you put on it, the easier it is to understand.
Yeah,
Jim
McGrath, you can put my name on it. Go ahead and include me in on the committee, please.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Jim.
I'll add you.
Appreciate that. We get all the geographic settings established. Okay. All right. I would say be safe, be warm, because I'm thinking by the time our next meeting comes out, I might be able to wear a golf shirt.
I hope so.
Everyone be safe. Talk to y'all soon. I appreciate you taking part.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.